Monsignor Dolman, Monsignor Hartman. They say actions speak louder than words. And having you two gentlemen up here today to celebrate my dad's Mass, we're humbled and honored. Thank you so much. Miss Katie, I don't really have to say anything because you have honored my father greatly. His life, he loved music, and your voice is angelic. Thank you so much for being here today. Miss Katie, she's a senior at Berks Catholic. Okay, good morning. For those who are not aware, I'm Andy's son, Mark. The Eulogy was actually easy to write. It's just tough getting it down to 10 pages. My dad never sang his own praises, so therefore I really want to take a couple of minutes of your time and do that for him. His life is summed up in just one sentence, really. He was an amazing Catholic gentleman. Some of his favorite things were the color burgundy, Polish food, the TV show This Old House, cognac, the Philadelphia Eagles, and his lawn tractor. His favorite saying was, "Don't ever take your half out of the middle." Think about that sometime if you haven't heard that one. He lived his life like that. And his favorite music was classical. His favorite things in the whole wide world were his family, his faith, and his country, in that order. His family was simply everything to my father. He met my mom when they were 5 years old. They started dating at 15, married at 18, and they shared 53 wonderful years of marriage together. He adored my mother. They truly shared one beating heart. In fact, he adored my mother's entire family. My parents so wanted a big family of 5 children or more. However, God had other plans. He gave them me, and only me. Therefore, I consider it my job to provide enough love and enough trouble to make up for the shortfall. I'm not sure how I stacked up on the love, but on the trouble, I hit the ball out of the park. Especially in my teen years. To sum up my dad through those years, again, one sentence: he had my back. His love for me was solid as a rock. I frustrated him, I hurt him, and I let him down. But he had my back. He caught me every single time I fell. He brushed me off, he smothered me with love, and a healthy dose of well-deserved discipline. Throughout the years I lived at home, our house was filled with live music, courtesy of my dad and his piano or accordion. Our house was filled, he would often sing as he played. He had his faith and his family, so he was a happy man. One particular song will stick with me forever. It was Willie Nelson's, "Mama, Don't Let Your Babies Grow Up to Be Cowboys." My dad was actually the original American Idol, so he made the song his own. And his version was, "Mama, don't let your babies grow up to be carnies." See, I used to travel with the Traveling Carnival for a couple of years, and when I would come home from time to time, he would sit at the piano and play that song very affectionately. He was proud of me, and I knew it. No matter where my road led, he knew I was a young man struggling with worldly temptations. He stood back, just out of sight, and allowed me to make my own mistakes. And again, always there to catch me before I fell into the abyss. He used to sing to my mom all of the time. The song "Sweet Caroline" comes to mind, and my favorite song, which he sang, was "Something in the Way She Moves" by the Beatles. He poured so much love into that song. My dad was an extremely hard worker, and he could fix anything. He got me out of so many jams. One in particular I'd just like to share with you. When I was 17, I bought this ridiculously customized Harley Davidson in York, Pennsylvania, and paid $2,500 too much for it. And I rode it home, and it got me home, but it didn't leak oil, it actually squirted oil. It was gushing oil. And on the way home, my pant legs were hot and wet, and I had like a quart of oil in my pants when I got home. And I came home, I was the crying biker when I pulled into the driveway. And my father, I just put my head in the sand for 2 days, and I didn't even know what to do. I was broke, and I had no motorcycle I ran. So my dad, he just cleared off his workbench. He had no idea what he was doing on the motorcycle. In fact, he just thought they were dangerous. But He just cleared off his workbench, ripped that motorcycle down to the frame, and 5 days later of hard work, he put it back together and it ran like new. And that's just one story of a very large collection. When Kelly came into my life 17 years ago, my dad finally got the daughter he always wanted. He was so proud of her too. His grandchildren, Rachel, Nicholas, and Matthew, they were his lifeblood. Saying that he loved and adored them does not begin to tell the story. He simply worshipped those kids. They called him Jaja, or Jaj for short, which is Polish for grandfather. My dad's heart was filled to the brim with happiness every time they were in his presence. And they knew it. From the minute he walked into our house, he became instantly absorbed in whatever the kids wanted to show them. He was larger than life. He was their larger-than-life teddy bear. Jaj was Rachel's very first piano teacher, and thanks to his inspiration, all three of our children are involved in music today, and he actually pays for their music lessons. Rachel affectionately refers to Jaj as the wise old owl of the family. Jaj not only filled our house with music, but he filled, not his house, but he filled ours as well. He would bring his accordion every single time he came over. Matthew insisted, and Jaj complied. As his disease progressed, there were times he could barely walk. However, he strapped on that accordion and played like a teenager for those kids. Every single Christmas Eve, without fail, he and my mom would come to our house and caroling after Mass. The doorbell would ring, and there would be Jaj and Danny standing out in the freezing cold with the accordion and singing away. There's actually a picture of that back there on the board. Page. His faith, Catholicism. My dad never questioned his faith, never questioned the rules of the church. Instead, he followed them to the letter. He would not take communion if he was not in a state of grace. He lived his life with the end in mind. He followed the rules, and he expected everlasting life with our Savior Jesus Christ. I personally believe that he earned his spot in heaven. A little personal story, a bit heart-wrenching but beautiful. Last Wednesday at 10:30 a.m., just a little over a week ago, the vent tube was pulled from my father. Early that day, while he was under heavy sedation, I put a rosary in his hand. The moment the vent was pulled, he lifted that frail, weak hand to his mouth and kissed the crucifix attached to that rosary. He then motioned for my mom and I to come to his lips, and he kissed us too. He made his confession to the priest. Then he began preparation for his journey. Faith in God and living life according to the rules of the Catholic Church was the cornerstone of his life. His country, the United States of America, how he loved it. He enlisted in the military to protect it. He was set to go to Vietnam, but they didn't send him. And now he's happy, but then he was a little upset about that. So imagine how this wonderful man's heart broke when in 1973 the government that he would have died to protect legalized the killing of innocent human beings right there in the most sacred of places, the mother's womb. My dad abhorred abortion. And I'll say that again, my dad abhorred abortion. It defined him. It kept him up at night. He was not silent. He held public vigil. He wrote to the newspaper, and he prayed every day for the safety of the unborn. And he was sure to instill the values of every human life into me. I will proudly carry my father's pro-life flag for the rest of my time here on earth. And again, thanks to my dad, I've been further blessed by meeting so many wonderful people through this cause. In closing, my dad was diagnosed with late-stage lung cancer over 2.5 years ago. He fought hard for every breath, just to see the beautiful sunrise one more day. As Monsignor so eloquently put it, he carried that heavy cross with such grace and dignity. He not only taught me how to live like a good Catholic gentleman, but he taught me, my children, and anyone else who was watching how to die like a good Catholic gentleman. My dad never took his half out of the middle. There is no doubt the best is yet to come for him. Dad, God bless you on your journey to heaven. We are praying for you.